please rise for the pledge. Trustee Barrett, would you please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, before I get to public comment, we're going to make a slight adjustment to the agenda tonight due to the fact that we've had some new facts come into light with regard to items 6B, C, and D regarding 526 North Main Street. It's come to our attention, what's that? Oh, sorry, roll call vote, Diane, sorry. We will do that first.
Ken Anderson is absent. Bill Rivera.
Here.
Dave Galdoni.
Here.
Pat Schubert. Here. Matt Wilson.
Here.
Jeff Walter.
Here. All right, back to my original point. Sorry, next time just. Back in 1995, and as amended in an ordinance in 1997, a PUD was filed on the property. In 1995, the entire property. In 1997, the PUD was amended to divide the property in half, and half was sold to another party. Therefore, we have ordinances in place right now under that PUD which dictate the use of that land. Therefore, the board cannot act to change the PUD for a special use. You can't have a special use on the PUD. So at this point, we're going to turn it back over to the village attorney, and we'll have a little discussion if anybody has questions on this particular thing on the board, or if Bob has anything to add. So until this issue of the PUD is sorted out, right now that is the use for that plan as outlined in this PUD from 1995, which includes a church and a few other things that they wanted to do on that property. Bill, do you have anything you want to add to that? Or?
No, I was just surprised to see that there was a PUD. Yeah.
Mr. President, would you say what those letters mean?
PUD is a planned unit development or plan development.
Thank you.
So, Bob, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I understand the directions, and just to clarify things, I believe Trustee Rivera just came upon that today, so that's the reason for the last minute notice on that. It's important that whatever relief the board decides to give to the petitioners here, that relief not be inconsistent with the PUD that was previously approved.
Correct. So that means that items 6, B, C, and D will not be discussed this evening. So that's why I want to do that before public comment, because I know a lot of people probably have something they want to add tonight. So I'll take a minute, and anybody that doesn't want to stay, there will be no vote tonight on the special use because of the PUD being in place. We cannot do that. We would be voting against an ordinance that's already in place. So those that don't want to stay, feel free to leave before we go on with the agenda. We're not at public comment just yet, but all right, we'll go to public comment then. I will remind everybody during public comment, please state your name. And we do have a time limit on public comment. I believe it's, I need to read this again. Persons addressing the President of the Board of Trustees will be limited to a period of not more than 5 minutes for comments, after which they will return to their seat in an orderly, quiet, non-disruptive manner. So we will open the floor up for public comment then at this point. Anyone wish to address the board? Mary?
Evening.
Hi there.
So, Kane County has had a historic preservation program since 1988. It was one of the first counties in the state to have a historic preservation program. In the Kane County 2040 plan, the first two objectives discuss the merits of protecting the heritage and historic character of Kane County through preservation of historic and cultural resources. To integrate the efforts of the Kane County Historic Preservation Program in all aspects of planning and development review. Many of us here are anxious to have Elburn maintain the small town feel it had, and also why we moved here, keeping an eye to embracing the future, but also being mindful of protecting our past. It is important as a village, as we move forward, to put ordinances in place to protect what we do have, and to work together to ensure that we protect our community from forces that will certainly affect our quality of life, property values, and safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Oh, wait,
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, Mike.
My name is Gary Augustine, and I was part of putting that PUD in place, and I've had documents that said it was only good for 20 years and that it ended and it reverted to R1. I was informed that it was reverted to R1 over a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, by this office.
In the 97 amendment, when the property was split, it said the PUD carries with the property. So we'd like to get a legal opinion on what exactly that means.
Hi, Mike Roman, and I'd just like to talk about the proposed use on South Street of an industrial facility to store machinery. I hear a lot about it will affect property values at this rehab center, but I think the industrial machinery will affect the neighborhood much more.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Shane Smith of Morrow Lane, and I trust that you've all received the letter that I sent, and not meaning to dogpile on what seems to be a very predominant opinion, but just as I wrote in the letter and want to formally submit, I'm an accountant. I'm a financial analyst, I'm not a statistician, but in what appears to me to be a valid statistical sampling, a majority of those that I talked to were against it. But the bigger point that I'd like to make, and the feedback that I got from most of the people I talked to, is a prevailing sense of trust that you guys are going to make the right decision. And you're putting things on halt to further pursue and make sure that we're going about this the right way. Utilizing NIU services, to me, just reaffirms that, I'm not trying to kiss butt, but it seems like you're doing the right thing, you're doing it in the right order. There's a lot of flack coming at you, people that are impassioned. Vote confidence. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name again?
Shane Smith.
In the back?
Stu Buchanan, resident of Blackberry Creek. Here to talk about what's going on with the common area behind our house. We've been there 10 years almost now, and for the first 9.5 years, there was a common area between our property line and the little pond or lake on Fairfield. About a week and a half ago, some city workers were out staking the property, so I asked them what was going on, and they commented that it was being turned into prairie grass. No notification by anyone for the 7 houses on those lots. We've been really negatively impacted, like a lot of people have, for property value with what's going on in that subdivision. And now you're turning this common area into prairie grass, so for a long time, what's that gonna look like? What bothers us, again, nobody told us anything. All the people in that area either built or bought houses with the assumption that they had that common area between the prairie grass and their house. And now this happens, and yeah, I mean, it's green space, which has been maintained by, I think, the homeowners association. And now it's being turned into prairie grass. And we don't like the fact there's no notification on that at all. We don't know why grass was planted, trees were planted, and now you're gonna take that grass back. It just makes no sense to us. And again, not having a voice in this, we don't think that's fair and proper.
All right, I can address a little bit of that. Just 1 second, sir. The land that you're referring to is managed by the Army Corps of Engineers. And the original drawings show those to be managed prairie space. And the village was made aware that it was being cut back, whether that was by the HOA or by the individual homeowners, we're not sure. But it has to be returned back to the space as drawn and approved by the Army Corps. We really don't have a lot of choice there. If the Army Corps comes out and finds that we are encroaching on their wetlands or prairie lands, then we'll be fined significantly. And there's not really a lot we can do about that, so we have to return it back to what the original drawings were that the Army Corps signed off on.
I was told probably 6 years ago by John Nievenhoven that the Army Corps turned it back over for the village to maintain, so I'm confused.
Correct, we maintain it, but we have to maintain it to what they agreed, what we agreed to maintain it to with the Army Corps.
In today's society with government the way it is the Army Corps of Engineers going to come out and find the village of Elburn or something like that?
I'm not willing to take the risk, honestly. I don't think the rest of the board would either, because the fines the Army Corps comes out are not $10,000 or $20,000 fines. They're in the $6,000 and $7,000.
And I'll be honest, I was one of the people mowing down, and the village told me to stop. They told me to stop 7 or 8 years ago, and I stopped. I think there's people on the property now that are doing that. I'm not sure why the village hasn't told them to stop. I received a letter saying, stop, or you get a fine. I stopped. I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to do that. And why no communication to the homeowners on
Yours
the
wasn't the only area in Blackberry that was encroached on by either the HOA lawn service or by the homeowners, and that's all being rectified.
Again, I asked, why no communication from anyone that this was happening?
And I'm sure we probably could have sent a letter out, probably should have, but I don't know.
Where are the documents from the
You can come into Village Hall and meet with Phil Van Bogart, Public Works Director, John Evenhoven, the village clerk, and they have all those drawings. Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Buchanan, and Blackbirds, and Russell saying she wants to do it. I understand that you say that, okay, the development was supposed to be that way. 9 years ago, the developer planted the grass. It's been that way for 9 years. The city has never done anything about it, said anything about it. The homeowners association actually had their landscaping company plant trees on that green area. And all the people that purchased homes there or built homes, built on the premise that that was green space there. So I don't understand, after 9 years and after all those people bought or built based on that, the city can revert back. It seems grossly unfair. We're in that part of the subdivision that you've let Chodine come in and build houses that are not near what that subdivision was supposed to be. We've lost over a good $150,000 in value, and we're still paying over $15,000 in taxes. And now you're going to say you're going to take how many feet of grass away from the people? It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Sir?
My name's Carl Wash. I live along that same stretch of homes too. And I did some measuring there. There's currently 60 feet of natural tall grass and weeds buffering the pond. The way it's drawn out on the free space is they're going to add another 30 feet and be within 10 feet of our lot lines. And the same point as the Buchanans. You're bringing allergens and insects, coyote shelter within 10 feet of our lot line. I just don't think it's fair. They've drawn in their plan, they're actually making teardrop-shaped areas around the maple trees, which probably should, if that was a designated prairie land, those maple trees should have never been planted. Well, now they're going to do teardrop-shaped areas around them, which to me is going to look ridiculous. Plus, those are going to have to be maintained anyway. I'm just wondering if we can petition for some sort of discussion on this to, if nothing else, change the design, maybe make it more aesthetic back there. And I would also question how it's going to be accomplished. If you just let, I was told, well, they're just going to leave the grass unmowed and they're just going to let it grow. Well, that's lawn there. That doesn't get 3 feet. That's not natural prairie grass. That's just going to lay flat, and it's just going to look terrible. And it's going to be a second stage. You're going to have our mowed lawns. You're going to have that stage. It's going to be a foot high, and then you're going to get to the 3 and 4 foot weeds that surround the pond. So, again, to echo what the Buchanan said, I think the fact that we weren't told that this was going to be done. I also did some research. Apparently, with a retention area, a stormwater drainage area, the Army Corps of Engineers relinquishes its jurisdiction. I found that. I've got documentation to prove that in case anyone would want to see it. So again, I think you're taking a situation that's existed for years. People bought premium lots. They built their homes based on what they were going to see out their back window, and And I just think it's a rash judgment, and it's just too hasty of a judgment to change that on us. Without some sort of maybe reaching a compromise or just doing something else. If this is a money issue about maintaining and mowing the lawn, I think you'd find that the homeowners would gladly do it themselves. So, again, I petitioned you, I don't know who we would talk to maybe stall things and have a meeting of homeowners and get some input from everybody.
Well, I know typically the Army Corps, for every one you take, you have to give them back 1.5. So to have a conversation with the Army Corps is not something we would be opposed to do. I'm sure we can get with John and reach out to our contact. and
Well,
see-
to be honest with you, I hate to open a can of worms. I personally don't think anybody, state or federal, from EPA or DNR or Army Corps, has probably contacted Elburn regarding this small strip of land behind our homes. I doubt if they ever would.
Yeah,
It hasn't
right
happened
now we
in
know about it.
several
We can't be
years.
negligent and not do anything.
I realize what you're saying, the threat of a large fine is, you know,
It's,
it's,
it's one of those things. Now, we know we have to remediate somehow, or if there's a way, maybe there is something in there that says these things expire over some time, or you can do this or do that.
so my question again is, who can we talk to? How can we maybe postpone this and have some sort of meeting to look into what our options are?
That would
If
be
there
our
would be a
public works
compromise.
director here, Phil Nimble.
I've talked with Phil, and
He will give you that option.
we will talk again, and just to see if there's
Yeah,
another
I mean,
way.
we
to
can
do it.
run down what our options there might be. If there's a possibility, you know, and it's not gonna be a costly thing, then we'll have to look into it.
Or the prospect of what it's going to look like as it's in progress, or, the end result. If, like I said, it's gonna be a bunch of unmowed lawn, that's not my idea of what I want in my backyard.
Right, well, yeah, we should turn it back into what they say it should be as well, so.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk to Phil. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Sir?
I came in a few minutes late. The only reason I'm here is for the drug treatment center. I'm wondering what's the upside for the residents of Elburn?
Well, that item has been taken off the agenda for tonight.
Oh, so we can't even talk about it?
One second, what was your name again, sorry?
Jim Fergalet.
You can comment on it, but we won't have any discussion on it as far as what the board, because we're not voting on it tonight.
When
There's
are
a
you gonna vote
PUD
on
in
it?
place, and we've got to get that sorted out. That land is covered under a plan development right now, and until we figure out, there was an amendment to the plan development that says it runs with the land, basically that any new owner or any heirs or so on and so forth. We need to figure out what all that means, because right now we can't approve a special use on something that already is a plan development.
So will we know what meeting to come to? Because
We will.
it seems to be getting postponed. It was supposed to be in August, now it's September. Are you trying to wear us out or something?
No, this just actually came up today. We found out about this, so it's just one of those things we have to address. We can't take the chance of approving something that goes against one of our ordinances that are already in place.
Okay, so we'll be here next month? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, Mary's website has the current information
Okay.
typically, and it's on the village website. You can always check the village website.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm Judy Smith, 305 West Street Street in Elburn. And in light of what has been found about the PUD, I guess I'm going to change my completely scripted thing here. So I just kind of want to get back to what Mr. Geberg said back at one of the previous meetings about ordinances that need to be put into place. In this changing world that we're living in, things like this drug rehabilitation center, I just feel are really going to prey on villages like Elburn. We're a small community. That's why most of us moved here. I personally came here because it was, small, rural America, wholesome values, names like Van Bogart and Stofa, and everybody knows everybody's kids. And I want it to stay that way, and I have a feeling it's not going to. We're changing. We have Shodin's development coming in. But one of the big things is knowing that we are in this environment where change is coming, and I think that being prepared for things like this drug rehabilitation center, the more research I did on what's going on in South Florida, is really frightening. And I think that that's my biggest thing is I'm all about helping people. I volunteer at St. Gall's. I've been a catechist for 12 years. I volunteer with Feed My Starving Children. I love helping people. Most of us do. I mean, we've got people here that volunteer all the time. They want to help others. But when it comes to people coming and praying on a small village, because we don't have ordinances in place that protect us from things like this, when I investigated South Florida and what's going on in the drug industry and body brokering, things like sober homes that come in along with drug rehabilitation centers, the fact that they're giving plane tickets to kids that live in the Midwest, flying them down to these rehabilitation centers. They end up down there, they get kicked out of the program, they can't get home, their families can't afford a plane ticket to send them back. They're sitting on the streets of Delray Beach and they're dying of heroin overdoses. We had a girl that graduated from Cayman High School, Allison Flory. I don't know if any of you remember the situation, but that very thing happened to her. They basically preyed on her. They, came after her family and basically said, come down here, we'll rehabilitate you. They thought it was the answer. She went down there and she was bounced around from treatment center to sober home, back to treatment center to sober home. She ended up dying of a heroin overdose in one of the sober homes, and her mother, Jennifer Flory, has been fighting against what is the Florida model of the drug treatment center ever since. I think that our village needs to be very careful about what's going on and what we're inviting into our community because of rules and regulations that we might or might not have. So I think that an awareness needs to be not just for situations like the drug rehabilitation center, but other things that might prey on us because we are a small community, because we do have lots of open space. People can build, people can take advantage of what we have here, and I just don't want them taking advantage of the life that all of us moved here for. So I just want the board to know that I think that that's an awareness we need to have, because we're living in a culture that is not, it's not friendly to this type of an environment. It's not friendly to innocent people who want to have something different, who want to have that hometown feeling. It's people taking advantage because this is $1 billion industry, this the drug treatment industry. So, I'm hoping, and obviously, Mr. DeBarrett, thank you for doing your research on this PUD, because obviously there is stuff in place and can be put in place to protect our historic buildings. My gosh, the most historic building that this town has left. Our historic homes in the neighborhood that Mary and I live in, there's no protection. You can't, people can tear these houses down right now. And I've got a house across the street built in 1854, one of the oldest homes still in Elburn. So, just really consider getting things in order so that we're not fighting things on the back end. We're not letting them in, and then, oh my gosh, how do we get it out? We probably can't. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Charles Munson. I agree with the previous speaker that one of the reasons folks move here is because they want a different kind of lifestyle. They want something, they want to participate or maybe not participate in the life of a community. They want a safe place for their kids. I worked for DCFS for 27 years. One of the reasons I moved here is because I could run into folks whose kids I'd taken away from them. Okay, I wanted a safe place. And I got it because we had a police force that was sensitive to my needs when I had orders of protection out. Okay, because people threatened me. I trust our police department. I think that if there were problems that arose from this facility being here, that our law enforcement people are competent and capable to addressing those problems, that the board and our mayor is competent and capable of addressing those problems. Mayor, you recommended that we read this study that was put out, okay? There's one paragraph about this study on the internet. And it says that property values can go down as much as 6 to 17%. Some people are assuming that 17% is going to apply to everybody. It won't. The study itself says that. The study says something else. And I want to ask you to take notice of this. On August 8th, Maxim filed a lawsuit in federal court. They say they've been denied that there's been discrimination against folks who are disabled. That's what's happening with this facility. They're going to be addressing people who are disabled. They're going to want people who want to get better. I worked for 6 months at a treatment center in Winfield in 1980, a long time ago, with alcoholics. I didn't see very many problems in Winfield that at the time was about the same size as this city, this village, okay? I didn't see problems with law enforcement, being taxed. I didn't see problems with folks wanting to be wandering around. Granted, they were alcoholics. The drug problem wasn't as bad back then. People are coming to this, or will come to this facility, are disabled. They want to get better. They don't want to wander around, They may leave, okay? They have a right to leave. Sometimes, if you want to get better, you have to relapse, okay? My sister went to Hazleton up in Minnesota, okay, several years ago. She's with us now because that facility, which is a world-renowned facility for drug and alcoholism treatment, worked. I had a brother-in-law. A couple years after my sister went there, we did an intervention with my brother-in-law, okay? He had 8 years of sobriety before the brain cancer killed him, that he probably got as a result of alcoholism. Are we going to turn our back on somebody who wants to be a good neighbor, who has met every request that's been made of them by this village, okay? I think we have to consider the practicalities here of potentially turning a revenue resource, okay, in terms of folks that are paying property taxes into a liability if the corporation that's developing this and the individual that's responsible for pushing it. And I think he's a responsible person. I think he's a person who's been trained. I think he's capable. I think he's probably a good businessman, okay? And I think we have to think about what we're doing in terms of taking a potential resource for this community and turning it into a potential liability. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
Well, I shouldn't say, because I guess it's got to be the next meeting, but what's the advantages for the community? Are you getting that big of a tax base off of this? They don't even, I couldn't find a website, if you fellas are from the group. I couldn't find a website, so, and then they were also voted out of St. Charles. They wanted to have it there too.
Right, so I just want to clarify, this is public comment, it's not a public hearing, so
Okay.
go back and forth and just make your comments. Anyone else? Talk, what was your name again, sir?
Oh, Jim Fergalette.
Jim Ferguson, he spoke earlier. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Christy Williams, was mobily at the last meeting, so,
Congratulations.
thank you. Representing the community center and, more importantly myself, the preschool and community center is so close to the treatment center. And I know this is not going to be voted on tonight, but I just feel like I need to voice concern from my parents, concern for my students, just being so close to the youngest civilians we have in the center, in the whole city. So I just, again, just need to voice that it is that close, and I have not been able to find a specific number on how close it can be to a school, but I have not found anything close enough to an elementary school as being this close, and I can't imagine a preschool has got to be that far removed from the same type of study. I'm less than 500 feet with all 3 of my classes and my playground and my center. It's concerning. I know it's a thing that's necessary. I've said it before. I understand the benefits. It's getting a little closer to home than, it just makes me nervous for students.
Anyone else wish to address the board?
I know I have a minute or two left in my 5 minutes. So Judy Smith, I have to fill up the time, Jeff. As far as people speaking on behalf of what's going on with this group, their Miami Beach facility, holistic addiction treatment center. These are some of the comments that were left on both Google, Facebook, and a rehab facility website. On December 15th of 2016, Danny from Fort Lauderdale said, if you're serious about recovery, do yourself a favor and stay the blank away from this place. They are what we call a flop house. They have clients actively using only their IOP program and pay clients to come to their facility, which is illegal, extremely unethical, and all they provide is a disservice to their clients. This is not a good place for anyone who is looking to stay clean. Also, from that same website, June 26, 2017, Stephen Shapiro, do not send your loved one to MBHACTC. Also, do not send them any money when you get the large bill or that when they call saying that you owe them money. They are out of business. Your life or your health was never a priority, it turns out. Tell them to go away. The majority of the good reviews are from employees being told by their supervisors to write a review. Wish you all the best. February 25th of 2017, Ariel Dalton, too much to put into words. To start, David is a big fat liar. When you find out you have been lied to about the how nice the establishment is and ask to get your belongings and leave, and you're told that they are going to hold them there and they will not give you your belongings. David and Tom are both claiming to be ex-addicts themselves. I think that they're still using. The clients are smuggling in drugs. Everyone is high as a kite. The place is a ghetto. You are barely provided enough food and money for the week. You will have to supplement with your own money to have enough food to last a week. This is a place you want to stay away from. There's even more negative reviews on the Better Business Bureau. And if you look into what the background is of this facility, there's also a Facebook page that has 1,100 reviews. It has a 1.4 out of 5 stars on Facebook. That Facebook page has been taken down. A new one has been built so that they could start with reviews starting as of 2016. So there's a lot of information out there on these centers. I suggest all of you jump into Google, and it's Miami Beach Holistic Addiction Treatment Center is the big one. You can find a ton of information about what people have to say about their treatment there. You can also Google Thomas Dean, who is one of the investors, find more information. You can look at and see who does the reviews. The majority of them are people who work at the place. There's a lot of, and it says right on there, it's one of the best places I've ever worked, and it's almost majority of employees. I think there were 10 reviews, and 10 of those people were not clients of that place. So everything that I just quoted here is directly off the internet. So if you're interested in looking and finding out more about that information, you can. Sorry, I'm addressing the public and not the board.
This is a public comment, so you can make your comment. Ma'am, in the front here. I'll
Mary
get right
Lou
back to
Duff-
you, sir, in 1
Oh,
second.
sorry, Mary Lou Duffy, on Seaton Street in Blackberry Creek. Maybe I misunderstood, but this gentleman asked a very important question and it was like slid over. Is that because we can't comment on it?
They can't comment on it.
They can't comment.
We'll be here next meeting.
Right.
Okay, all right. I
The
just was
public
wondering why it
hearing,
was not
actually, there were
addressed.
2 public hearings.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's
the
our
transcripts
chance to
are
speak.
available on the village website if you'd like to read
Okay.
everything that was there. It's 400-some pages of
Thank you.
reading.
Yeah, I'd just like the board to take notice of the fact that that facility's licensed by the state of Florida, and also is a member of the Joint Committee, has been accredited by the Joint Committee on the Association of Hospitals that does quarterly reviews. There are plenty of venues, okay, there are plenty of avenues in which you could complain about such a facility. And that Joint Committee would be responsible for pulling their accreditation. I suspect they need to have accreditation in order to be paid by the insurance companies, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And that's a rigorous program. They do quarterly reviews, okay? People are gonna complain about treatment, okay? But there are facilities to take care of that. If they are licensed in this state, they'll be licensed by the Department of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse, and they'll probably be accredited by the Joint Committee. Okay, I think there are plenty of avenues for folks to make complaints about the treatment that they get, and the responsible parties that would need to respond to that. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Sir?
John Anderson of Elburn. I just have one simple question. Has the village done a financial impact analysis of the relative increase of costs associated to the village for police or other protection?
That
as
was actually
opposed
item
to
6B, which has been passed over tonight because of the PUD issue. So that would have been discussed this evening, but since we have an ordinance in place that says this place is going to be something else, we cannot put a special use on a PUD. Anyone else wish to address the board? Sir?
Craig Swan, Elburn. I don't envy any of you up there. It's an interesting crowd tonight. We got one person that says they pay $15,000 in taxes. We got other people that are trying to get rid of something that will bring taxes to town. I am speaking.
And please, let him speak.
I let you speak, you let me speak. Maybe we could say, welcome to Elburn, this kind, wonderful, sweet town, unless you need treatment. If that's the case, get out. We don't want you. That's what I hear out of this room.
Well, anyone else wish to address the board? 'Cause I'm about to close public comment on this particular subject here, because we aren't taking action tonight. We may not ever take action, because there's a PUD in place. We won't know until our village attorney goes through all the ordinances and figures out where we're at, so. Mary, did you want to add one more thing before we
Last
move
thing,
on?
I promise. If you look and do your research, you will also find that the most successful treatment centers are on a medical campus. Because you really can't cure a chemical dependency with Tai Chi and yoga.
All right, I have no awards or presentations this evening, so we'll move on to the omnibus agenda. Tonight's omnibus agenda, I need a motion to approve the village board meeting minutes from August 21st, 2017, and the executive session from August 21st, 2017. Motion by trustee Schubert, seconded by trustee Caldoni. Roll call vote, please.
Bill Barrett,
Aye.
Dave Galdoni, Pat Schubert, Matt Wilson.
Aye. Motion carries. Under the mayor this evening, I have a thank you note for the board. I think some of you remember a few weeks back, we put a basket together to sit down here for Metro West. They sent us a very nice thank you note for a donation. That was much appreciated. They had over 90 participants. And I heard the person that won the Elburn basket was very happy because it had memes and meat which makes everyone happy. All right, I have a proclamation this evening to read. As soon as I find it. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Whereas September is known as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which helps promote resources and awareness around the issues of suicide prevention. It teaches how to help others and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, or background. And whereas suicide is the third leading cause of death among young people. And whereas Elburn, Illinois is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind local educators, mental health professionals, athletic coaches, PAC leaders, and parents as partners in supporting our community and simply being available to one another. And whereas local and national organizations like Suicide Prevention Services are on the front lines of a battle that many still refuse to discuss in public. And whereas the youth of our community should understand that throughout life struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all fighting our own battles. And whereas I encourage all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors over the next few days and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jeffrey Walter, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2017 as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the Village of Elburn. Signed by me the 5th day of September 2017. All right, onward. Village Attorney?
No reports.
Diane, Village Clerk?
No report.
Tom, Building and Zoning?
Nothing tonight.
Doug, Finance Department?
You have a memo in your packet from Village Administrator Nevenhoven proposing that we grant a one-time salary adjustment for the Public Works employees for taking on extra duties and rising to the call of duty when there was not a superintendent of Public Works. They're giving direction and adding to the work complement. And so that's his proposal there. You'll see the amounts in the memo. I would point out that the total is, there was a typo in the total. The total amount is $5,900 rather than the $5,600 that's stated there. So that would be $5,900 net of taxes. So the gross, I did a quick calculation this week on this. So the gross puts end up being what the budget impact is to the village, $7,655.
All right, so budget-wise, as we talked about before, this was covered by only paying the one salary, not paying the public works salary for almost a year. So do I have a motion to approve the one-time salary adjustment for public works employees?
I'll second.
Trustee Wilson, second by trustee Schubert. Roll call vote, please.
Bill Rivera,
Aye.
Dave Goldoni.
Aye.
Pat Schubert. Aye. Matt Wilson.
Motion carries. Sorry, man, cut you off there.
That's all right.
I knew I. Chief Police Department.
A couple of things, just a quick recap on Elburn Days. There was another successful event this year with a well-behaved crowd, although we had a significant crowd in the beer garden areas on both Friday and Saturday night. They were well-behaved, didn't have any problems with that, so we made it through the long weekend again with relatively few issues, no significant ones at all. Few traffic complaints that we'll try to address in next year's event with some different traffic control points. Another item, on the 10th of this month, we have two events here in Elburn. One that's coming through, that's going to be the Ride to Remember, which is a motorcycle run dedicated to the victims of 9/11 and the subsequent military victims from the actions. This event is starting in Woodstock and will be culminating in Oak Brook. Their path is going to lead them down Route 47 through our town. They're going to take the bypass around the Anderson Road overpass to avoid a train interruption. They are expecting up to 1,000 motorcycles that will be participating in this event. It is being coordinated by the Illinois State Police Special Event Detail. They are the lead agency on this, so we are an assisting agency as they come through our jurisdiction. So on Sunday, somewhere around 12:30 or so in the afternoon, we may have up to 1,000 motorcycles passing through town with a police escort, some fire department escorts as well, on their way, making their way down to Sugar Grove to pick up the 56 entrance and get on I-88 to culminate in Oak Brook. So if anybody is out there, might want to just be aware you might have a little traffic delay if you're trying to get somewhere. Elburn Countryside Fire Protection District is going to be assisting us with traffic control, as is our CERT group, assisting with some traffic control points on this. And then the state police are going to be supplying some motorcycle units, and they have invited some other motorcycle units from other agencies, hopefully to assist them with doing sort of a little leapfrog to cover any uncovered intersections throughout the entire length of the run. So also we have our Folks on Spokes event that same day, where we will have, we don't know exactly how many, but lots of bicyclists out biking through Elburn on some various pathways and roadways and locations. So both groups have been spoken to. We've given the information to the Ride to Remember. I've attended a couple of meetings on that. That is going to be part of their safety briefing to let the riders know that they may encounter groups of bicyclists while traveling through Elburn because of our other event. And the coordinators for the Folks on Spokes have also been made aware of this as well. So we're hoping that they don't intersect each other. But in some other areas, the Blackberry Creek and Patriot stop signs that were approved at the last board meeting, Phil and I have met, been out at the site. I saw today things have been staked out there in Julie, so those stop signs hopefully will be going up soon for the location. And we are finishing up, hopefully in the ending process for our CSO candidate background to hopefully get our replacement CSO on board soon. The other item I have is actually item A under my department, which is the approval of the special event permit for the Duquesne chapter of the Abate Toy and Food Run. Once again, our annual event is slated for October 8th of this year here on North Street, outside our Knuckleheads Tavern area and the associated parking lots and street areas. So we'll have those motorcyclists here registering, participating for a couple of hours before they start their ride, which culminates in Decadia.
And the governor will be joining us once again.
And the governor should be here with his contingent also of state troopers assisting him with that. And he's expected to lead the ride again as he did, I believe, the last couple of years. So he was definitely here last year. and is expected this year again.
So do I have a motion to approve the permit for the Duquesne chapter of Bates bike run on October 8th? Moved by trustee Goldoni, second. Second by trustee Rivera. Roll call vote, please.
Bill Rivera.
Aye.
Dave Goldoni.
Aye.
Pat Schubert. Matt Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else, chief?
That's it.
Any questions from the chief? Public Works, Phil?
Yeah, I have just a couple of things. This week, the guys are gonna be working out on Cooley Road, doing some tree trimming with Blackberry Creek Township, so that's just something minor going. WRT is gonna be in Thursday to shut down well 4 and change out the media. We were hoping to get this well 5 yet in September, but it looks like it's gonna be moved on to October because of WRT's schedule. Elburn Station, we did stop out there, took a look, and it got some emails with EEI and the Shodeens. They've had some problems with the soils out there. They're in the process of, they're basically remediating some of the bad soils and what have you. So there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done before they can really keep moving on the roads on the Library Station there, or Elburn Station, I'm sorry. So they're working on it, but there's not much else to really, that's going on for this week. But, that's about it.
Thank you for allowing me to spend the day with you on Friday. I learned a lot. I got to walk the proof when they did the roads. Phil showed me all the bad, how that looks and how that works. And it's very interesting, interesting stuff there. The metro station, we need to do some work there. We've got weeds coming up in the middle of the parking lot, and this is going to be becoming a little mess if we don't.
Yeah, the weeds, you know, when they paved that, whatever the width is of the paver, there wasn't a big overlap, so we're getting weeds growing. And I don't want to go through a winter with those weeds, and it's going to be a freeze thaw, and we'll be losing, you know, a foot on either.
I'll send one of you guys out.
Yeah, so if that just, rather than, you know, a $10,000 patch job, we can do it, you know, for some roundup and whatever else we have to do.
Did we get the lights all?
Most of the lights, out of probably 30 bulbs. We're getting there. We're getting there. We had to order some in, so they're supposed to be in tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get the rest of them in.
All right, village administrator, I guess that's me for today. John is out. The only thing I had to add from earlier was you had asked me, Pat, about Kesslinger Road.
Yes.
I reached out to the county. They have no current plans to put a turn lane in there. They will take a look at that, or maybe reducing the speed as folks are coming into town to even slower than it is to avoid that.
Thank you.
Getting rear-ended there. All right, that's all I had for that. Bills list.
Mayor, I reviewed the bills list for this date and found them to be in order, and would consequently move to approve said bills list in the amount of $68,234.84. About 60% of that is between our Blue Cross Blue Shield for our folks and WRT, and a fair amount of engineering work that we're doing around the village, some of our infrastructure projects.
All right, so I have a motion to approve the bills list in the amount of $68,234.84.
Also move it.
Moved by trustee Schubert, second. Second by trustee Wilson. Any further discussion on the bills list? Roll call vote, please.
Bill Rivera.
Aye.
Dave Goldoni.
Aye.
Pat Schubert. Matt Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next I need a motion to go into executive session for litigation when an action against affecting or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting, 5 ILCS 120/2, C11. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by trustee Rivera, second by trustee Gildoni. All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Bill Rivera.
Aye.
Dave Baldoni.
Aye.
Pat Schuber. Matt Wilson.
Motion carries. So we'll clear the room for the executive session. We'll come back for other business. We will not have any announcements from the executive session tonight, but we have a riveting cow agenda tonight. If you'd like to stay around and see what we do there.
Good luck.